All right, anyway, this occurred a long, long time ago when I was 11, all right? And that was in the summer of 1960.
Jeez. Good story.
It's time.
And
Shut up!
It was in the summer of 1960 because my brother was born that fall. And it's one of those things that line up in my memory, you know, events that occurred. Anyway, as an 11-year-old, we always hung out in the woods where we lived in southern New Jersey. We came from the city, lived in the asphalt jungle, moved to the suburbs, and stayed in the woods. We didn't have internet, we didn't have color TV, we had nothing. Nothing, no air conditioning, so you stayed out of the house in the summer.
That sounds like that's the way I remember.
That's the way it was. Well, anyway, we're down in the woods that August afternoon. My brother, a friend of mine, and myself, we always went to this little pond in the woods, looked for salamanders and all those little things that are around there. And that's where we hung out. So it was brush all over the place, and there was a hill, and up on the hill, 6 feet up from the stream, was a tree, a silver bark tree, I forget what it was, and then to the right was a big old oak. The oak had a rope swing, and it also had a tree fort building, and we'd hang out there on occasion. This one day, we were down there, and we went up to a farm field nearby, and there were eggplants, so we picked eggplants. I don't know why, but we did. I don't like eggplant. So we picked them. And we also carried pocket knives. I guess we were going to carve them up or something. And we went down to the pond that time. The other two were off around the other side of the brush where I couldn't see my brother or the other guy. I don't know what they were looking for, but they were over there. And I went by myself where the little stream was right in front of me. And took the knife out, had it open because I was going to cut up the eggplant. And then I hear a snapping sound. And it was up on the hill. And I listened to the direction of the sound, and it came off to my right. And I looked up there, and all I saw were the blueberry bushes and all the other stuff there that I didn't see. I didn't pay any more attention to it. So, back to business. Then I hear a large crinkling and breaking of branches. And that caught my attention. I looked over. No, didn't see him. And I looked up the path, which was clear, and I saw him.
Bigfoot.
You sure it wasn't a bear?
And I was frozen in position, and if you've ever had that, you know what I'm talking about. And could not move, but I just stared, and it was about 8 feet away from where I was. And I looked up, and then it was about the guesstimated height. I went back years later and measured the tree because the tree is still there. It's only about that tall.
Man.
And he stood there. And he stood there with his hands up like this, which I interpret years later as non-threatening. No hair on the hands. Hair here, short hair. Color similar to hers, a little redder though.
Like hers?
No. He had large arms, a large chest, just a big, whatever it was, human-like thing. And he had hair here, you know, wherever, just like you would have hair. And was it a boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he have hair going?
Is it a boy?
Did he have hair there?
Yeah. And
He got that on video.
it had, it's a human-like creature, and I'm convinced that it was human-like, but larger than man. And his fingers would have been another 2 inches longer, and you can see from the back how the fingernails would come around a little bit, not like claws. The feet were very clear, both feet very large, probably a size 18 if there is such a size.
How many toes?
And you can see the toenails. It had 5 toes. It had 5 fingers in each hand. It was the same as a human. And you said, is it a bear? No. Bears have snouts. This had a face. Its eyes, brown eyes stared at me. Large nose. Mouth, huge mouth. Didn't open it. And just stood there. And I finally snapped out of the shock I was in, and when I did that, I ran.
You have to
8 feet? 8 feet. That's like from here
I ran about
to that door.
150 feet
I'd freak out.
toward where the houses were.
I'd be like,
It was all in woods, and I ran up to there, and of course it was the fastest 100 ever done. My brother and friend didn't know why I ran, and then they ran. They probably thought maybe the farmer was coming because we had picked some eggplants. They said, "No, did you see what I saw back there?" And I said, "I saw this monster." And they were afraid, but they went back and they didn't see it, and they didn't stay there very long. So after that incident happened, later in the evening there, some of the neighbors up there, they actually went in the woods to find it, to see if they could find anything. They didn't. Even this day, 50 years later, I don't go to that spot by myself. Yes.
Did it look like Chewbacca?
No.
That's how I imagined it.
The images that you see of Bigfoot that looks like a giant ape, this was not a giant ape. It was not any primate other than some human-like thing.
Yeah, me.
Now, years later, after I got married, and today's the 39th anniversary, by the way.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Anniversary.
So my wife and I went to a mall over there in where we lived in New Jersey, and we were walking around before all those fancy things they have in the malls. And I noticed this crypt-like thing, a casket-like thing on display. Remember, they selling caskets in a
Like where they put,
bury
yeah,
somebody in.
coffin.
So it was over there, and I got closer, and there was some signage around there, the paper material that, or posters that explained what it was, and I looked in it, it had ice in it, and inside the ice, encased in the ice, was what I saw 20 years before. Not the same one, but the same creature. A farmer in Minnesota had shot it.
Yeah.
And they guess they were taking it around and touring the country. I don't know why they didn't ask for money or anything. But they had it in ice. And I said to my wife, that's what I had seen years before. Not that
Was
one.
it a human?
It's the same, whatever it was human-like, but it wasn't, they couldn't possibly have a human being laying in a block of ice in a mall for
Well, how come
display.
it's not
You
like
don't do
on
that.
record? Like,
So it was not, and the research was done, University of Minnesota was doing the research on it, never did find out what happened. You know, what they ever did with it.
it's probably classified.
Could be. But that's the true story. And there are other sightings in that region. There are other sightings of similar things throughout the South. The so-called Bigfoot Sasquatch in the Pacific Northwest is similar to this. This didn't have an odor. Like some people claim they could smell it. Some people claim the ones in Sasquatch were
The one in my
angry and vicious type
the
things.
skunk.
But I never had that. This thing to me seemed like friendly, but I just wasn't going to stay around and find out.
Mhm.
You should have said, hi.
No, I
Chicken
couldn't say
hand.
anything. I often think to myself when I go in the woods, you know, will one be around there? I sit in my front porch, and I look there at sunset, and I have a road that comes up out of the woods. Is there one of them going to walk up there someday? I don't know. But it's true. It's there. They are there. We will find them someday. Maybe they're smart enough to stay away from us. I don't know.
Good story.